Hi everyone, it's Adrian Leah. It's been a little bit of time, but I wanted to do a tarot reading. I am going to use a deck that I've never used for these readings, so I'll talk about that in a moment. I wanted to do just a mini update on my life, and I'll keep it uh, just for I'll just talk about it for a couple minutes. I'll try not to make it too long. But I wanted to share that I feel that one of my guides was just whispering in my ear, like in my head. Remember when you had that advanced herbal course that you purchased? And because I was on my phone and I was thinking, I think I have an advanced herbal course that I didn't do. Just to backtrack a little bit, my degree is in herbal studies. I attended a community college first for my prerequisites, and then I transferred to another college that had the major that I was interested in. And before I went into that college, I did attend a trade school where I got certifications in herbalism. So I got the beginner and intermediate certifications. And then there's an advanced certification. And I I paid for it. And I suppose maybe I was focusing more on my major that I just put that course on the wayside. It was just kind of surprising too because I paid for the course. It's over $1,300, and it's, of course, it's still there because I have it, but I now have to get the lifetime access because I waited so long to do it, and it isn't too expensive to get that. Um, but I just thought that that was just such a cheeky thing because I am a I kind of have downtime where I'm focusing more on my move, but I have more downtime because I'm not working that much. I could just pop in to the pharmacy when I feel like it. And they understand and they're super accommodating with that, but it's far away from me because I'm at my godmother's house. So I feel like the universe is just like, well, now that you have time, Adrian, you can focus on your course, and it kind of feels like I'm back in school again to do it. So it's going to be kind of fun, but I know I have to work as an herbalist in a clinical setting. That's one of the things that are like the requirements that are part of that is a requirement for this course. So maybe it was just like meant to be to do it at this time, and maybe I'll have a decent pay or living when I move to where I could maybe intern as an herbalist in a clinical setting. So it is exciting. I haven't done consultations like that. I have made recommendations for supplements, and I do give some advice and information on different maybe interactions or information about certain active ingredients or different herbs because there's the herbal section in the place that I work at. But it'll be kind of a new thing for me, and I feel that it is so exciting to do that. And that's what why I went to school for that, because I wanted to help people in that way. There was that confliction about working in pharmacy, but I feel like I have like a rounded I have rounded experience, if that makes sense, or experience in different areas where I can take that information and get the different perspectives on things and see the developments and maybe the ways that people go back to the traditional types of treatments for the various ailments. So a lot of times we go back to source for those things. And it'll be exciting because it's kind of going back to the types of roots that I have in that way, where I I have a love for that type of medicine. So it kind of feels like my bread and butter. And I'll say more on my personal channel. So that was one of the things. For the deck that I'm using right now, well, for this reading, this is another Slavic deck. This is actually called the Slavic Tarot. So it's this one. And this is a different deck because not many decks do this. But they do, but there are decks that have these characteristics. So there is the argument on whether the sword should be represented with the element of fire or represented by the element of air, because the sword is forged in fire, but it cuts through air. So for this deck, it kind of flip-flops it because, again, not many decks go that direction, but I can name maybe a handful that do. Um, so for the swords in here, it's going to be the fire suit, and for the wands, it's going to be it's going to be the for swords, it's going to be the fire element, and for wands, it's going to be the air element. So that might serve for different purposes for this reading, and it could give way to this type of energy. I feel like this energy is kind of settling a little more because towards the beginning of the month, it was just really, I feel like high energy type of Mercury retrograde. And I feel like that energy is kind of like not dimming itself, but things feel less up in the air and chaotic, if I were to say it like that. I am going to use other decks too. And um, I have my deck, the Earth Fairy Tarot, the Glory to Ukraine Tarot, and I have it in my knitted bag. The Slavic Legends Tarot is in another knitted bag. And let's see, I'll get out a fairy deck too. I was gonna say angel deck, but maybe I'll get out a fairy deck. So the fairy deck that I have in front of me, since I said that, is the Victorian Fairy Tarot. This is a little different. This one is the Russian edition of it, and I use this one because I have the English version, but I tried to not use it. It is one of my rarer decks that I want to keep it in the condition that it's in. I may pull out a card from like an angel deck We'll see. And then I'll get into the reading. Sorry. I have this bag that I got, and I was going to use it as my purse, but now I feel like I'm going to use it for my Slavic decks and like maybe other everyday decks because my move requires me to move my stuff, obviously, and I'm trying to categorize my stuff. And I'll just say over like I have like 18 decks for my fairy decks. I might have to try to downside a little bit on that. That those 18 decks like weigh like 7 pounds. So it isn't like an extreme amount, but I have to see what else I have to carry. My loom only weighs like 3 pounds, so that's fine. And then I have my other everyday decks, like my Slavic decks. So I'll get started, and so sorry it's 10 minutes in, but it is just an update. So at the bottom of my deck, it's the Three of Swords. And it's interesting with that Three of Swords, and as I talk about the different elements, and then the other card that I saw at the bottom of my deck is the Chariot card, so that was after that. And with this one, I say that it's interesting because it has a goldfinch on here, and since it's the swords, it's for me for that deck, it's representing more of the like mental health and trying to focus on that. Um, with the Three of Swords, it kind of like is one of those cards that really bring things to light in a way where maybe the mental health or the things that are on your mind need to be addressed. So for the goldfinch, it kind of caters to being able to nurture those things. And it's just such a sweet bird. It's it also links to like the whistles or like the tin whistles that are used in folk music. I do have some Polish whistles, and it's by they're called like the goldfinch whistles, and I just fell in love with like the different tones that they have. It has such a sweet softness to it because sometimes like when you're picking out your whistle, they have different qualities, and because it's made out of like a pipe, like a I never know what these pipes are called, like the CVP or like those household pipes that you have. It makes the sound from the goldfinch whistle just so sweet and soft. And there are like examples of the way that people play the whistles on their channel, like their YouTube channel. And um, there's just like that sweetness of that even when you're in a dark space, it kind of is evident that there is still that light in there. I'll give a little example because I keep talking about that. I just sketched a drawing for a child that would play with the cats that were here. My cats moved to Las Vegas, so it is sad, but they are going to have such an adventurous, fun, and family life because they do well in social settings. They do well with like families, so I'm super happy that they get to experience that. And it was one of those things where, out of all the years that I've had them, this is the first time where a family approached me asking if they could adopt my cats, and this is the time when I'm about to move. And I feel like that's more validation because before I moved, there was another major move that I had. I moved a lot over the years, but there was a major move where I had to move like pretty far away from where I was originally. And my late cat, Kiki, I have her hair in here still, and it's been years. She was an elderly cat, but there she also had some medical things going on. So before I moved, like 2 weeks before I had to move, she passed away. And I just felt that even though I loved her, I just felt like it was kind of like one of those signs too. But back to like the Three of Swords, I made this drawing for the child, and it just, even though I am pretty to myself, I'm not like a social being right now. I protect my energy, I protect my mental and emotional health pretty diligently. If I feel like there's something that could interfere with that, a lot of times I'm just like, no, that's not for me. So I'm not exactly a person that people perceive as someone that will go out to just socialize with the whole world. It's not like I don't like the world. I just have that for me. And um I feel that it was like the impression of, if you could like understand, or I'm not saying like it's hard to understand, but the way that I explain it might not be the clearest. But when I made the sketch for the child, I just wanted it to be the most happiest thing that they could look at, and it included the cat that she loved to play with, and the I put sunflowers, and I just wanted it to be something that um it's like the love that is pure, that comes from a child that hasn't seen trauma. So that's the kind of thing that I wanted to take from it. And going into it, we just got through one card, but the sky gets clear. The sky is actually clear in this. And usually in like the Three of Swords, it's not the most common thing. And with this, when you match it with this Three of Swords, because this deck has a lot of memories for me, because I made the deck. And this chariot is actually one of the therapists that I would talk to a lot at the, not for me, but just in general. And she, I became friends with her, and she is a therapist at um, v, a, at a VA hospital. Sorry, it took me like forever to get that out. So VA Veteran Affairs Hospital, and this is energy like of the moose energy, like having strength but still being gentle. Because I know like moose can definitely do damage, but there's also a way where even when you have that strength, to make sure to focus it where it doesn't need to be like destructive. Because with this chariot card, it doesn't feel like it's on a destructive path. It feels like it's one where you clear the path to get there, or the path is cleared for you. And I feel like maybe that's like what it's trying to trickle down to. And let me see. Let me try to pull out the other cards. And what's nice about this deck too is that there's stories in the major arcana that are linked to the Slavic lore. I think this is in Ukrainian because the soft sign in here is different than the Russian one. And there's a soft sign that I see here. So maybe like if you hear these stories, you might be able to like identify them. So the ones that I have here, there's a lot of major, well, already major arcana. And I honestly I haven't used this deck for much uh I haven't used the deck a lot. So here you have Ivan the Fool, and for the Cyrillic alphabet, it does look like the sounds for Baba Yaga. This is Baba Yaga too, like up here. I don't know if you could see that, but that's an obstacle. And I pulled these up together, so I feel like they're linked to each other. So Baba Yaga is in the obstacle, which is the death card here. And then the overall energy the is Ivan the Fool. And it does look like how you would say Ivan for the letters here, or symbols. I feel like this energy is like a second chance at life in a way. But there's just something that weighs heavy on the heart. And since it's again, well, this is fire too that links with it. So I'll bring these two cards up because it usually it's with air and this one is with fire. So air and fire for these Three of Swords that came out twice for this reading. And it looks like a change in season too, because when you're looking at the present card and the obstacle card, the mountains are, one is barren and the other one has snow on it. And it could be different areas as well. But this is one that I feel like has experienced tragedy with this Three of Swords. This could also be two separate Three of Swords, which is interesting. So it could be two different people or more people. And with this, with it being the Fool card and starting over, that's what I feel like with this Three of Swords, that somebody is having a hard time starting over. And on the Empress card, you have Makosh. And with this one, it is linked to Taurus energy and heavy earth, heavy maternal, heavy growing energy. So With this, it feels like when you're starting over from scratch and starting a completely new life or new direction, um, there's some things that are doing the heavy lifting right now. For it to be possible, for it to be set in stone, it's a energy where things are done right, and that takes time for it to be done right. And it's not like the easiest process either. It's interesting because with the Baba Yaga card and the Chariot card, the Chariot card in the Slavic Legends card is represented by Baba Yaga. So I feel like those link to each other too. There's also another energy if you're interacting with somebody, and it could be energetically too if you're not in complete contact or you're not able to fully express these things. But maybe it's on the same wavelength or being able to distinguish those things because, like, someone in your life that knows you pretty well, whether it's like a maternal figure, whether it's like your partner, they can sense things because either like they spent a long time with you, they maybe gave birth to you, there's something of that nature where it has that type of sensory. There is an energy that is protective and does the heavy lifting as well. Because with this Empress card, it seems like to be protective in that way, and it seems to be accommodating in that way too. Both of them are carrying things with the Fool card and the Empress card. So I feel like these energies really interact with each other. And there's also a bear here too. I don't know the story of Ivan the Fool. So there's also what look like peacock feathers here. So that could be part of like the direction or the incentive. There's something that catches the attention of this Fool card. And I feel like since it's in How to Overcome the Obstacle, which is the Death card, it is most likely that this person that's represented in the Fool is seeing this direction in something that caught their attention, which is the next card, which would be the Empress card. Then in the past, you have the Nine of Coins, which I feel like seems really destructive here too. In the obstacle being the Death card and the present being the Three of Swords in both the decks, because the Nine of Coins is a card that you already set yourself up or established yourself somewhere. It's a grounded energy. It's an energy that you built up that didn't really want to go somewhere else because it's the nine and then you have the 10 and then you can start the cycle over again. It could be a different cycle. Regardless, you made it up to the point of the nine, and that was in your past, and now your present is the Three of Swords, and then the obstacle is your Death card. So that's not feeling like the greatest. And then in the future, you have even like another new card. So you have the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands might be linked to these new ideas. Again, with these wands being in the air suit in here, there's still clouded energy that you see, but this could also be like a spiritual touch or like a guidance too because of the clouds in the sky. It could also link to that type of spirituality aspect. Could be a little bit of a celebration as well and a growth because you have what looks like ribbons here, but that could also be the rays of the sun that are kind of there. But I would say that for the most part, this looks like a card that is really airy. So, overall energy and the future card, you have like a lot of new beginnings. I would say overall, the whole thing's a new beginning. And then for the future, it's like you're already in this new beginning phase, but now you're like experiencing different things. And that's why maybe this Slavic tarot came out because we're doing things that maybe we've done in the past, but we're doing it in a new way that we've never done it before. I'm gonna pull out more cards. Oh, there was like an important thing that's like, it was a topic that really struck me that I just thought it was brilliant. And it was one of those things where a therapist was talking about, just in general, it wasn't be like, um, it wasn't like a therapy session, but it was brought up by one, by a therapist, and saying feast, to not mistake breadcrumbs for feasts. Feast, FEASTS. If I, you know, I know sometimes like when I say things, I don't pronounce them that, I guess, strongly. But it's one of those trauma responses where you've been lacking something for so long, like maybe lacking some affection from somebody else. So sometimes you go through this destructive nature where somebody gives you just a little bit, just like kind of to hold you over type of thing, where they give you a little bit of affection and you think it's like the best thing in the world. I would be careful with that, especially with the Ivan the Fool, to make sure it's worth it. Make sure this relationship, which I feel like it could be linked to a relationship because it has the Empress card there too. Also, I don't feel like this is a breadcrumbing situation if you're linking it to the Empress, because the Empress embodies all of the queens in one, just like the Emperor embodies all the kings in one being. So you're getting all those elements, you're getting all those aspects, which kind of seals it. And with Ivan the Fool, if he's looking in that direction with this Empress in mind, and that's what the peacock feathers could represent, then I feel like that could be something worthwhile. Um, in the past, I feel like there may have been breadcrumbing situations where you thought something was like the best thing that has ever happened to you, and then it turns out that maybe it could have just been like love bombing energy, where it was so rushly, it was so like it was like running to the situation, running to this person just to find out that seconds later, sometimes literally it's like seconds later where they give you like a bomb of affection and then they just like hold back all the way. And you're just like confused about what happened. But since you've experienced that with them, you're just thinking like, or in a situation where you're like, okay, well, maybe they were just having an off day. Maybe I'll just like keep going, keep moving forward with them. And then just to find out that it was just a moment in time where they give you this, and it doesn't have to be just a couple seconds, it could be a couple weeks, a couple months, and then all of a sudden it just halts. And it's so weird and like it's a bizarre thing, um, where somebody just gives you a lot of these things, and that could be like one of the signs where maybe it's not something that you need to look out for. But again, with the breadcrumbing, where you're not used to it, so you're just thinking like that's a good thing, where they just shower you with things. And that's honestly, I'm not saying it's like the easiest thing to do, but it's a thing that happens. And then it's another thing where you look at other behaviors of this person to really kind of grasp what this is. I feel like with these Three of Swords, that could be like the burn of the past, that breadcrumbing energy. So that could also be the closed off energy with the Nine of Coins, because the Nine of Coins is like a singular energy. So this could be that Nine of Coins ending that cycle and going into this type of partnership. Again, it doesn't need to be a relationship like that. It could be um, a business transaction too, and it could be a combination of those things because there are certain things that are that you do in a relationship that's like with marriage too. You tend to have those types of um, like it's a contract in a way to say it more straightforward. And some people might be like, "Whoa, Adrian, that's," but I'm not saying it like it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying it, you know, because with the goldfinch and like the sweetness, there's like some type of sweetness. And it is another thing where like the light to the flame, sorry, the moth to the flame, that saying. Because like that happens with people that have been breadcrumbed. That also happens when people are like maybe in their darker times too, and then they see somebody that has just um like an energy that they haven't experienced, and then they go to them. And so it not only like are they feeling that energy, it's also important to make sure that you're able to set certain boundaries up. And even with relationships too, I think that's important to um, really put things in a way where things that you'll be okay with, things that you're not going to be okay with. And I feel like that goes a long way because if it is part of the level of respect that you can get there too. And I think it's important to note that when you do it in a healthy way, again, well, as I say, like on an individual basis, you'll have to kind of determine that in the type of relationship that you're in, how it can be done in a healthy way, that your partner, whether it's like a love relationship or not, will understand that it's not trying to be like a disservice to them. It's not trying to push them away or trying to make it seem like there's a hierarchy. It's just a level of respect for yourself, and honestly a level of respect for the relationship too, because when you set these boundaries, it also gives the relationship a foundation. So we'll go into the Glory to Ukraine Tarot too. I feel like there's definitely innovative energy, really needing to draw outside the color outside the lines. This really feels like energy of doing something that may not be something that you normally do, because maybe what you've been doing hasn't been as fruitful or effective. Sometimes it might just be making a couple of adjustments. Since it already feels like a moment of change, it doesn't feel like you're completely adjusting something, but it is going with that flow. And with that, it makes sense because I pulled out the Two of Pentacles here. And that kind of reminds me of like yin and yang energy too. And resurfacing because it looks like something that you're looking like maybe whole and having it being resurfaced there too. Because there's some dimension as if it's looking into something. Almost like a well or like a wormhole or a tunnel and going into something more illuminated. This also reminds me of when certain birds, they, what is it? Like vultures, like when they circle around an area, like you know that something has passed there and you do have the death card in the obstacle. You also have the Queen of Swords here too. We're sticking to the air suit or air element. Also, the Four of Pentacles here with the Five of Swords. This does feel like a group effort because there are multiple people down there. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm just going to say it that in this card there is a like a monk in here, a Ukrainian monk with this Four of Pentacles. And when you think about that lifestyle, I feel like it kind of prepares you to like pack lightly. That's one of the things that my guides tell me that they're like pack lightly. Like you want me to pack lightly, okay? Me just looking at the 30 decks that I'm thinking about bringing, and I'm like, okay. And that's not even my whole collection. I know for sure I'm not going to bring all of them because I do have a storage container in my storage unit that has more decks in it that I kind of categorize as like decks that I'm keeping, but I am not using it a lot. And so when you think about I bring that up because when you think about the Four of Pentacles and you feel like monk energy, it's one where you kind of simplify your life because Four of Pentacles is one where you stand tall on having these certain things that you're accustomed to, that you're used to. You might even have more than what you need because after the Four of Pentacles, you get into the Five of Pentacles, and it's already part of the cycle where you kind of strip down from that because the Five of Pentacles is like kind of a card of loss, or you're having certainly less than what you've started with. Could be a different perspective because it can be known as a card of poverty. But I would change the way that you're thinking about it because with the Five of Swords, coming out of the going from the Four to the Five of Swords, because the Four of Swords is kind of like the resting state or the healing state from the Three of Swords. Three of Swords is a lot of turmoil that needs to be addressed. It's something that's already brought up that might be evident in yourself and is also evident in your surroundings too. That could be evident with like people that are surrounding you. With the Five of Swords, it kind of feels like standing your ground in that or having a higher sense of self, higher or stronger um, mental state, mental capacity. This is really trying to set it straight with. not letting anything hurt you. At the same time, with the Five of Swords can be an aggressive card because, sure, if you kind of rested from the Three of Swords, the Five of Swords, if you look at like the traditional cards or for the Rider Waite Smith, you'll see kind of like people trying to um, hurt or defeat another person. It has like people with swords and somebody like walking away, and somebody like looking like they won the fight. That could be a destructive or trauma response. Again, this isn't a medical channel, so you could take it for what it is. But I feel like with this Five of Swords, it is a little touching because since there's multiple people on that card, it does feel like that energy that I have brought up again and again and again, where be wary of that, like your environment if you can, and if you can, the people that you keep in your life. Because at these times, like it can be dark times or sad times or really um, some type of tumultuous energy that you can link to the Three of Swords. These people, these moments, these energies will and guides will dust you off and make you shiny again. That's an important aspect to take when you're coming out of the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is like coming out of the Four of Swords, it kind of feels like it feels like the coast is clear because it honestly kind of feels like energy of I don't want to get out of my room. I just want to just lay here for days on end and just experience resting because if I rest and if I don't see anybody, if I don't do anything, then it's not going to harm me. But sometimes, like, it's good to have your me time, but it's also good to get some fresh air. And it wasn't until like recently where I just kind of understood that energy too, because I mean, I'm like not saying like to party or anything if that's what you like to do, by all means. But because I would get like nature cards or like I would get like cards that give the impression like you need to like do something, and because what I like value a lot is working. I feel like that's what gets me in the zone. That's what is something that makes me feel like there's a purpose for me. And because I also feel like, well, I am a Libra, most of my chart is in Scorpio. I'm also Year of the Dog. So I feel like I feel like a service dog sometimes because I just love the purpose of like working. I mean, specific types of work, not all types of work. And so when I haven't been working, and honestly, when I don't have the cats right now, it kind of feels like all that energy that I put towards trying the best that I could to give them some type of life, or at least a life where they're not going to be out in the cold type of energy or like be in a shelter. That would never be a resort for me. Um, Now that I don't have that, now that there's like the energy of leaving the nest, I'm like, what is, what do I do now? And so it kind of came like again, like at a good time where I'm like, oh, I have school now. I get to study and I get to um, feel that again. So there's there's the Queen of Swords here too. And the Queen of Swords accepts that challenge of the Three of Swords, I would say. And the Queen of Swords, it is one of those energies where she will set every boundary that she needs. And sometimes it seems harsh to people because she just cuts it and um, she yields the sword, and you see that there's like the alchemy of that too, of that type of creation. And when we think about that alchemy, it's like when you have the mind of a scientist, and when you don't like something about your life, you go out and you change it. Then there's possibilities, and there are ways to do that. I feel like this queen is not just sitting around on a throne. She is actually a game player, and she's actually one of those main people. She's not going to be a pawn. Um, she's not a queen in that regard, or she wouldn't be a queen if she was a pawn in somebody else's game. So pull out these cards, and then I have I have some angel decks in this container that I got from the thrift store because I went to get a suitcase, and I might get one more suitcase. I will say I might have to go to like first class, which is kind of like fancy, but I think I want to carry, well, I can't carry on four suitcases, but check in like three suitcases and then carry on one or something like that. And I think there's different um, benefits to different types of seating, or the thing that the type of ticket that you got. I'm not sure what I would be calling it, but I think four is definitely a safe thing. Three is kind of like I would squeeze stuff, but I could probably do it. So, uh, we have the Ten of Wands, and that's also heavy lifting too. There's just like an energy, it's like pack lightly. Even if it's just bringing yourself, just like pack lightly. But another thing, like I might have to go before I actually move to like see properties and then eventually buy property. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the UK if I buy a house, but I that's where my visa is being what my visa is being processed for, where it's a UK visa. Anyway, I'm mainly saying it for the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands, it's like, and it's really linking to the Four of Pentacles. It has this elderly person, and she's outside, and it looks like it's cold. It's she's walking through the snow. Maybe she's done this all her life. Maybe she's used to it, but it does feel like holding your weight. This feels like the energy where the Empress is coming from too. This Empress feels like she's she or he has done this before. Really concentrated on the Queen of Swords energy too. Um, but I feel like if they're two separate energies, I don't feel like the person in the Fool card, the Ivan the Fool, has done this before. So that could be where the heavy lifting is coming from, and needing to prioritize those things. You also have the Ten of Coins, Ten of Pentacles, because it feels like multiple. If it's not just your stuff, it's somebody else's stuff. If it might be coming together, two different lifestyles, two different types of energies. Again, it doesn't have to be a person, but where you're going, there's already something that's kind of established in that way, where there's already was amenities, like things that are already at your that you can use when you need it. It's almost like pre-furnished type of energy. You have the Ace of Swords, which I kind of link to the Ace of Wands because both of them are not sort of, both of them are air elements, because in this, again, the Ace of Wands in this deck, it is with the element of air. So lots of ideas, lots of planning, lots of this and that. There's a lot that is in your head, and it does feel like a chess game at this point, where you have to like think of like the different moves that can be made, like 6 moves ahead, and you're seeing how you're gonna move your pieces. So there's the strength card. And these are strong animals because you have the moose in the chariot card, and then you have the strength card here with that has a buffalo. Then there are, sorry, oh yeah, the other 2 cards from the Victorian Fairy Tarot, the Knight of Wands and the World card. So I feel like the Knight of Wands can be linking to this Fool card. I just don't feel like this Fool has experience. And this could also be not having experience in relationships too. This could be a person that is like it could be age difference, it could be experience where they might be on the shyer side or they even though it's the wand suit, like the Knight of Wands, it maybe he was one that like shied away from relationships and was just like I don't know, one of the guys type of energy or one of the girls. I don't have to read for genders. It just doesn't seem like this Fool card. Like it just doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. Like I'm not saying like this person isn't experienced in like you could take it for what it is. It just doesn't feel like in general this person knows what he's doing, which is fine because you have somebody else that does know what they're doing. Um, I wasn't necessarily trying to like aim that towards like sexual things, but again, you could relate it to whatever you feel like it is. So you have the World card here. And the World card is like a really interesting card as I was, it's another Major Arcana card too. Because the Strength card's Major Arcana, the Chariot, the Death card, the Empress, and the Fool card. And the World card, it's almost like when you have an expansion pack or you have like a video game where you expand the world in some way, like you pass a certain level or you like pass a level or you like pass a certain point in the game and then it expands it to another section. That's kind of what it feels like with this World card. I'm not saying like it's necessarily game playing, but it kind of like the more that you experience, the more the world opens up. It the more that you do, the more things open up. So that could be linked to progress in a way. And I'm going to pull out a couple more cards, but I'm also just going to end the reading because it's almost an hour. And I'll pull one angel card. So you have the Six of Cups and then the Six of Pentacles. I'll put 66 on it as the angel card because, or angel number, because it's not an evil number. It's what you make out of it, but sorry. Six of Cups and the Six of Pentacles. It kind of skips the Five of Pentacles, which is interesting. Let's see what the other cards are. The Emperor, which seems pretty wild because you have the Empress here too. So that's like a counterpart. That's pretty serious. Wow. Because they're both major arcana. They both embody all of the queens and kings. This is pretty major. And that's like kind of standing your ground with the strength card because I feel like either maybe you might be distrustful or you've been breadcrumbed in the past. You might be going on this new journey with this person, and the world expands by accepting this new relationship or new thing in your life, new experience. I was going to say also transaction because maybe there's a part of it too that really helps, like you help each other out, but there's also love there. Um, this is, this could be paternal and maternal energy in a way where like both energies are like super protective of each other. You have the Page of Wands. There's, because you have the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands, it just feels like either the person's excited or there's like a lot of energy that goes into it. And you have the Ace of Wands there too, even though it's linked to sword to like the air element. So you have the Six of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. This could be linked to the past with the Six of Cups. This could be memories of, and because you have those memories, that's why you give a little at a time. The Six of Pentacles isn't one that gives a lot. It kind of feels like, well, since there's an older and younger energy, this could even be someone being a little more slower paced or traditional than the other person, too. Other person might be more modern, even from a different area, even from like almost a different world. So that could be the expansion too. Like they're just from different worlds, which was in another reading that I was talking about being from different worlds. So that's kind of fun. I feel like there could definitely be the yin and yang type of thing with the Two of Pentacles too. That because those looked like that could have been what it was making, based off of the imagery. Um, I'll pull out the. So this is the Two of Pentacles. I'll pull out an oracle card from the Tree Angel Oracle deck. So in here, it's the Linden card, and let me read what's in the book. The Angel of Linden line is intimately connected with one of the human soul's most important sources of power, the universal desire to find equilibrium, to find true harmony, through which all forms of life can thrive. It is for this reason that linden trees live to such great age and why they are such powerful healers. This is why they were traditionally the trees under which council was held and judgment given. To the spirit of the linden to tap into the deep and fundamental sense of harmony for yourself and for others, for animals and for the plants themselves. The more deeply you develop the linden's ancient sense of balance, the happier and calmer you will feel. It is not, however, to reach a place of rest, but to constant striving of your own behalf, to finally access a great power that is available to you, the forgotten power of the dragon. Dragons are symbols of the living energy of the earth, and they are the blood their blood the invincible river of creation itself. The power of the angelic linden stands for social justice, dignified and humanitarian aims, and for the impetus behind the charitable work. The power of the linden is too fundamental to the earth to disappear it altogether. If the linden had stepped out of the Garden of Eden into the dense matter of creation, the earth would not have survived that for long. The sacred groves of linden trees were not just destroyed historically in the physical world, but more tragically within ourselves. Without the vibrant connection to our own inner temple of healing and forgiveness, the most terrible horrors of are inflicted upon the world: injustice, racism, lack of compassion, conflict, making scapegoats of people, the stealthy and lawless activities of secret police, including torture. The picture with regard to ourselves is no prettier either: prejudice, conflict, abuse of all kinds, heartlessness, which can manifest to the physical body as fatigue or chronic illness. And then um, Linden, thread gently on the earth, preserve equilibrium, care both for stillness and the ever-changing, awesome, universal whole. Heal the human heart and heal all who live. The dragon power is yours. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in another video.